There you go, Charlie.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to the Old Colony MPO meeting of April 21st. I hope everyone's doing well, even though it's a little cold, as Mary pointed out. Um, why don't we get, before I have Charlie call the roll, let me go over the accessibility statement. Accessibility statement and Title 6 non-discrimination statement. This means is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. If you'd like this accommodation, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. In terms of the Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries with regard to federal Title 6 non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is included on this meeting's agenda as and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website at https oldcolonyplaning.org/. You can also contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. With that, Charlie, you want to read the roll?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Steve Wolfel.
Steve Wolfel representing Interim Secretary and CEO Phil Ping here.
John Handy.
John Handy representing Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Thank you. Nelson Fernandez.
Hi, Nelson Fernandez representing the Office of the Mayor of Brockton.
Thank you. Don Alcombright.
Don Alcombright here, Kingston.
Thank you. Dan Salvucci.
Present.
Thank you. Mike Lambert.
Here.
Thank you. Becky Coletta.
Becky Coletta representing OCPC as president.
Thank you. And the only person we're waiting for is James Downey, but we do have a quorum present, so we can proceed.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. And again, welcome everyone. Let's move to agenda item 2. Are there any members of the public like to address the MPO today? All right. Hearing none, we can move to agenda item 3, which is the minutes of March 17th. Can I get a motion, a second, to approve the minutes of March 17th?
So moved, Dan from Whitman.
A second, Becky.
All right. Any changes or comments on the minutes? All right. Seeing none, Charlie, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfel.
Yes.
John Handy.
Yes.
Nelson Fernandez.
Yes.
Don Alcombright.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
Michael Lambert.
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charlie. We'll move on to agenda item 4, which is the update from the Brockton Area Transit Authority. Michael, are you doing this?
I am doing this,
All right. Take it away, Michael.
unless I forget something, and then Kelly will jump in. We had a good month of ridership in March, bounced back from snow-related, weather-related drops in January and February. We also are focusing, in terms of fixed route, are focusing on customer experience. So we started a new midday cleaning program with people hopping on and off the buses to clean them out before heading out for the afternoon. We've also increased security at the BAT Center. We now have private security all hours that the BAT Center is open, and then sort of double security during afternoon hours when middle school and high school is out. And still continue with our police detail program as well. Good news to report on our ancillary services. Our overnight Uber service had a record 500 trips last month, which is almost a 25% increase over the previous month. And our microtransit services also hit an all-time high last month. That is the update, unless I forgot something.
All right. Any questions for Michael? All right. Thank you, Michael. The next update is from Gatra. Take it away, Mary Ellen. I think you're here.
Hello. So we are continuing to look for drivers so that we can expand out service. We've identified some areas where we do need to increase our hours, but we need to bring in some drivers. So we are actively recruiting drivers right now. on an exciting front for Brockton. And Mike, sorry to blindside you, but just got these numbers literally in this minute. The Gateway ridership last month was 4,672 people. So we are seeing month over month increase on the Gateway link, really proving something that Mike and I have known all along, right? Is that VA hospital access, the Stonehill access, the ability to get down south to both Fall River and Taunton is incredibly crucial to the region. And there is a lot of cross-pollination that can happen if we keep that route going. So we do have funding for year 2 of this, and I am working on funding for year 3. But we are really excited that that program, which I think we all knew we needed, is actually coming to fruition. And it has actually let us really push programs that Massasoit offers that BCC doesn't, because now you can actually get to Massasoit, right? If we can get them to the BAT terminal, that can get them to Massasoit. So we've opened up a whole new education component as well, which we're really excited about. Other than, this small little World Cup thing going on, that's what's going on at GATRA.
Thanks, Marilyn. Anyone have any questions for Marilyn? All right, seeing none. Thanks again, Marilyn. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 6, which is start of the Bill McNulty show, a bunch of tip stuff. So I am going to turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Chair. You can see on your cover page here, we've got quite a few things going on in this report. So I'll take it one by one. So Amendment 3, if you recall at the last meeting of this board in March, Amendment 3 was released to a public review and comment period. If you just want to go to the next page. Just a little refresher. So Amendment 3 was a cost adjustment on the project here in Brockton, Route 123 at Plymouth Street. The overall cost on that project had increased by about $828,000. Most of that cost adjustment was accommodated by bringing in money from the Highway Preservation Program, which didn't have any previous dollars drawing from that program before. Now it's drawing about 600,000 and change from that, and also a slight adjustment to the cost under the STPG program. So if you want to go to the next page. So these are the results of the public review and comment period. No comments were received from the general public. We did present it to both the Old Colony Planning Council Board of Directors as well as the JTC. Both of those boards approved this amendment as presented. So I wanted to check with MassDOT. I think Derek is on the line. Were we going to defer voting on endorsing this until the next meeting, or
Schuster?
Yeah, I apologize. I was not fully paying attention.
sorry. I didn't.
Which item?
Yeah, so this is Amendment 3, the that has been out for a public review and comment period. I know we had discussed previously, possibly in I know MassDOT had mentioned possibly deferring endorsement of this until
Yes,
May.
we'd like to. Yes, we were asked to table this until May.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, so we will hold off on May. You want to go to the next item then, Bill?
Sure thing. All right, without further ado, Amendment number 4. So Amendment number 4 is a cost adjustment on a project that's on the statewide tip. That is the bridge replacements. It's actually 2 bridges over the North River on Route 3. That project spans 3 towns, Marshfield, Norwell, and then a small portion of that project is within the Pembroke boundary, which is hence why it requires a notification in our tip. So the overall, the cost adjustment on this, the original TFPC cost estimate was 52 million. That is being adjusted to 119.5 million. So there's a cost increase of $67.5 million. This is not on our regional tip. This is a statewide project, but since the portion does touch Pembroke, hence it's being included. The amendment is being included in our tip. So we would like this board to consider releasing this to a public review and comment period.
I
All
move
right.
Release this
Any
to a,
questions for Bill?
Yeah, I have one, Dan from Whitman.
Go ahead,
Bill,
Dan.
the cost increased double. That's because of the delay of the project?
I have to, yeah, I'm not familiar with the details on why the cost increased like this on this project. Again, like I said, it's a statewide project. I think a lot of times with bridge projects they have this initial cost estimate, but until they really get in there and start designing it, they don't fully know the cost.
Right, exactly. Right. They're speaking before they know the full.
Derek has his hand up.
Yeah, but before that, I would like to call on D5. Sean, do we have, before I have, I'm sure Schuster has the answer, but I want to hear from D5 as well.
I think it's essentially what was just stated, that once the project cost, the project scope and the pre-25s and the 25s information and the base technical concepts start being put together, they get a much better idea of what it's involved. And obviously with this one, the initial swipe through the air of what the cost was going to be was not in the ballpark of where they are now. But I'd certainly be interested to hear what Derek has to offer.
Schuster?
Yeah, thanks. There was a cost justification shared, or an amendment change justification shared by the project manager. I apologize if we didn't get that to you, Bill, but we can definitely include it as part of the amendment. The bridge type selection worksheet is primarily an engineering document with a preliminary estimate, and since the project was initially approved by MassDOT in 2012 for $22 million, the bridge type selection worksheet estimate, while not final, was at the time a better estimate to use for programming in the 25 to 29 and 26 to 30 steps. Since the initial bridge type selection worksheet, they've received several more refined design and estimate submissions. The revised 25% submission is now $119 million. The 4 bulleted items here include a bridge hydraulic analysis, reveal the potential for significant scour at this location, resulting in the need for a more robust drilled shaft foundation, as opposed to the originally planned drive pile foundation. In order to phase construction and limit environmental impacts, the plans were updated to include temporary shoring and cofferdams. The 25% highway design revealed the need to adjust the profile on Route 3. This profile adjustment significantly increases the pavement quantity from what was originally anticipated. And lastly, the increase in these costs also proportionally increased the contingency percentages on the project. So
Again, my comment, Dan from Whitman, wouldn't that be better if they look into this project more and trying to get better estimate on cost? Because to see the cost double is overwhelming, in my opinion. It's just a thought. I mean, so that people have a little bit more faith in your adjustments.
Yeah, and I'll go back and double check my materials. You very well may have sent me that information from the project manager, and if I do have it, or if you send it to me after the fact, I'll make sure that I'll update the narrative in the amendment document itself. So that's part of the public review and comment period.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know your point, Dan. I mean, it's something we're always trying to get better at, but obviously you need to continue and improve. So
Well,
maybe we
I
can
can
talk
see
about next.
I can see a
later.
project going up 10, 15 extra, percent is not millions. It's still a lot of money, but for it to go and double is just amazing. It's mind blowing. I mean, it's the fact that you kind of lose faith in what, their cost analysis. It's just my views, dealing with my town and projects that we have. And when there's an estimate of the cost and all of a sudden we got to go to town meeting and increase it by double, that makes us look ridiculous. So lose faith in us. So it's just my opinion.
Becky?
Yeah, Dan, my only reaction to what I'm hearing though is that in this case, they actually went from a particular type of piling to an entirely different structure. So it's almost as if they had to re-envision the entire project because of the scouring and similar issues. And so it makes sense to me that they did it. I just want to make sure that I understand this is on the statewide transportation improvement program. When you guys look at moving dollars between districts, does this count against District 5 because we now have such an expensive project?
Yeah.
Or does it essentially it's part of what the state factors into its programming statewide, and we should be extremely grateful that we're getting an improved bridge over the North River that is taking into account some of the issues of the river.
Schuster?
The latter to what Becky said. Not that you should be grateful bit, but the statewide program takes these factors into consideration. I did also want to note that the proposed amendment is using Next Generation Bridge Program as the funding mechanism to pay for it. So it's not actually counting against obligation authority that we have in dollars today. This is one of those projects that we will use a mechanism called GANs repayments in the future to pay down, similar to the accelerated bridge program from about a decade ago, where we want to construct these bridge improvement projects today so that the costs don't escalate even further 10 to 15 years from now when we might actually get more federal funding to otherwise pay for it.
Okay.
All right, others on this? So Bill, we're still waiting for a motion, a second to put it out for public comment, correct?
Correct.
And
All
move
right.
to put it up for public comment.
Is there a second?
Second. Whatever. Yeah.
All right, Charlie can decide between Don and Dan. All right, any other questions or comments on this? All right, Charlie, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfel,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Nelson Fernandez,
Yes.
Don Alcombright,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Mike Lambert,
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
Yes.
And then I should ask, apologizing, didn't ask earlier. Rick Bossy, are you representing Plymouth today?
As long as it's allowed, I can. Yes.
Yeah, so James can send a designee to ask on his behalf. So
Okay, yeah, I can sit in for. Oh, he got stuck in a meeting.
okay. So Rick Bossy,
Yes.
thank you. Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bill. We'll now move on to I believe it's a new agenda item, correct? Which is agenda item 7, which is actually the federal fiscal year 2027 and 2031 tip to consider a release of a public comment. Go ahead, Bill.
Yep, actually, we did have one last item on that last agenda.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. So we have this is just a administrative modification to the tip. We had several recipients of community transit grant program awards in the region. So and that covers both vehicle replacements and operation assistance. So for vehicle replacements, Brockton Area Transit and South Shore Community Action Council, they received grants to replace vehicles, and then just go to the next page. And for operating assistance, Brockton Area Transit, Old Colony Planning Council, Area Agency on Aging, and the South Shore Community Action Council all received grants for operations assistance. So again, this is just kind of information only. It's a modification to the tip. It doesn't require any action by this board or a public review and comment. And So we congratulate that and the Area Agency on Aging and Social Community Action Council for these awards, and we are grateful to the state for this program that we receive this investment year after year.
Well said. Thank you,
Great.
Steve.
Oh, good, Michael.
Oh, just saying thank you.
Oh, thank me. Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
Okay. Anyone else have a comments on this before we go to agenda item 7? All right. Sounds like we're just going to move to 7. So go ahead, Bill.
All right, thank you, Chair. So without further ado, the long-awaited next update of the Transportation Improvement Program for federal fiscal years 2027 through 2031. So this particular update, you can see the binding page. It contains over $400 million in roadway and bridge projects, 16 road projects to be specific, and 3 bridge projects, and over $100 million investment in Brockton Area Transit. If you want to go to the next page. So this is a table that shows that breakdown of these funds in the different funding categories for the 5-year program. The big number I draw your attention to is the number in the bottom right corner there. So combine the highway investment on the highway side, investment on the transit side. We have over $500 million in investment in the region for transportation for 2027 through 2031. So that's great news all around. The next page. So let's just kind of walk through what's included, at least on the highway side, for projects in the in this draft transportation improvement program. So for federal fiscal year 2027, in Abington, we have intersection improvements at Route 139 and at Chestnut Street. In Brockton, we have intersection improvements at Summer Street, Grove Street, and Lyman Street. And that includes replacement of the Grove Street Bridge.
Yeah, finally.
We have in Duxbury, year 1 of advanced construction for the Powder Point Bridge over Duxbury Bay. This will be a recurring item. You'll see this. This is a 5-year advanced construction item, so you're going to see this in each of the 5 years that we're going to go through here. In federal fiscal year 2028, in Abington, we have intersection improvements at Route 18 and Route 123. In Avon, we have intersection improvements at Route 28, Harrison Boulevard, and East and West Spring Street. In Duxbury, again, year 2 of the Powder Point Bridge. In Kingston and Duxbury, right on the line there, we have intersection improvements at the ramps between Route 3 and Route 3A. In Stoughton, we have intersection improvements at Canton Street, School Street, and Summer Street. Then moving on to 2029. In Bridgewater, we have a bridge replacement project for the Vernon Street Bridge. In Brockton and Abington, through the 2 communities on Route 123, we have year 1 of advanced construction for bicycle and pedestrian improvements on that corridor. In Brockton, we have intersection improvements at Route 23, at Stonehill Street, and Pearl Street. In Duxbury, year 3 of the Powder Point Bridge. In East Bridgewater, intersection improvements at Route 18 and Highland Street. In Stoughton, intersection improvements at Route 27 and Turnpike Street. Moving on to 2030. In Duxbury, again, year 4 of the Powder Point Bridge. Also in Duxbury, intersection improvements at Route 53 and Franklin Street. In Whitman, corridor improvements on South Avenue. And then in 2031, we have 2 projects in Hanover, intersection improvements at Route 53 and Broadway, and intersection improvements or corridor improvements, Route 139 at Main Street and Spring Street. I'm sorry, Main Street and Main Street, Center Street, and Silver Street, and then in Duxbury, year 5 of the Powder Point Bridge project. Then finally, in Easton, intersection improvements at Washington Street, Turnpike Street, and Purchase Street. This is actually 3 intersections in total in close proximity to each other that make like a kind of form a triangle in that sub area of Easton. So this is a new roadway project being programmed into the tip this year. So this is the tip that we are hoping is released to a public review and comment period today. If anyone has any questions on any of this.
Thanks, Bill. Sorry, my
Oh, no
computer keeps trying to drop me out of the meeting. I keep going on video because of something going on. It's not me. All right, any questions for Bill? Looks like Becky has one.
So I'm not sure this actually, because the bridge project is kind of a different pot of money, but I saw the other day that Duxbury was spending some money on a wood design analysis. Is that project still on track?
Yep, as far as I know, it's still on track for next year, federal fiscal year 2027. So,
Because that's a design build, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
correct.
Yeah, I know that Duxbury is still trying to take action against a new bridge, so or a new modern bridge, I should say. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know that the state has been working closely with Duxbury. I know that they've had a couple of planning and listening sessions in Duxbury to work with the residents on the design of this. So, it's I think they're still trying to accommodate the desires of the town and its residents.
All right. Other comments, questions?
Yeah, Dan, I have a comment to go
ahead,
with
Dan.
what Becky was talking about. Is the Powder Point Bridge in Duxbury, is that considered historical?
It is not, no.
Okay.
It had been at one point, so it's kind of a complicated history. So at one point it was historical, but then in the 1980s there was a fire where the bridge burned and was replaced. So technically the bridge is the date of the bridge goes back to the reconstruction, so that would not be historic. And I know that's been a kind of a point that keeps being brought up, but right now there is no historical designation on the bridge.
Okay. That answers my question.
No worries.
Others? So Bill, we still need a motion a second to put it out, correct? Or did we go over the transit stuff? Sorry.
I just the overall number. I don't have the actual line items of the transit in this report.
All right. So can I get a motion? Oh, wait, there's a question from Michael by Samara. Bill, you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's asking about deferring it to Mike Lambert, asking about the fair share amendment and funding.
It's a great question. Right now, all 3 budgets, I assume that, Samira, you're asking about the fare free service. Right now, all 3 budgets, Governor, House, and Senate, contain money to continue the fare free program. But that is, of course, always subject to change.
Thank you.
All right. Good job, Michael. You guessed the question correctly. So any other questions or comments before we go for motion second to put up for public comment?
I'll make a motion. Dan from Whitman.
All right, Dan, is there a second?
Come on, Becky.
I'll second.
All right, last call. Any questions? All right, Charlie, you want to put it out? Call the roll?
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Nelson Fernandez,
Yes.
Don Alkenbright,
Yes. Sorry, I got web.
thank you. Rick Bossy,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Mike Lambert, Becky Coletta.
Yes.
And we did just post the link to the article in the Duxbury Clipper about that wood investigation that Becky was referring to.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bill. I think this is the end of the Bill show, right? We're on to another
Yeah.
agenda item. All right, good job,
Unfortunately.
Bill.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to agenda item 8, which is, wait, how do we go to Dan and I don't see the agenda anymore? What happened?
On the agenda.
Nicole's going to be sharing her screen from GPI.
Okay. Take it away, Nicole.
All right, can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for giving some time on your agenda today. We really appreciate it. We're excited to share an overview of OCPC's prioritization pilot program, which has been branded as PRISM, so the Prioritization and Regional Investment Strategy Model. My name is Nicole Rogers. I'm with GPI. We've been working really closely with the OCP staff to develop this program, really with the goal of supporting smarter, more transparent decision-making for you all that ultimately leads to safer streets and stronger communities across the region. I'm going to keep this pretty brief, but today we wanted to just walk you through a few key items. First, we'll kind of just introduce the PRISM program and what it's aiming to achieve. Then we'll talk about your role in the process, since your input will be really critical to shaping how this works moving forward. We'll also touch on GPI's scope of work and the overall schedule, share a quick update on progress to date, and highlight some of the key tasks coming up next. So just briefly, I know many of you are familiar with this effort, but at its core, PRISM is about strengthening how decisions get made at the MPO level. So PRISM is OCPC's initiative to essentially create a more transparent, consistent, and data-driven approach to prioritizing transportation investments. So that when projects do come forward, there's a really clear, defensible rationale for why they rise to the top. So this effort is being supported by an FHWA project prioritization pilot program grant. That's a mouthful. One of only 16 nationwide, which puts OCPC in a really great position to set the standard for how MPOs approach prioritization moving forward. But stepping back, why does this matter? In our early conversations, Charlie, hate to point you out, but you said something that really stuck with us. There's roughly 100 to 120 million in project needs competing for TIP funding, but only enough funding to advance 1 or 2 projects at a time. So every decision at this table inherently means that something else is not moving forward. The challenge isn't just selecting projects, it's also being able to clearly justify those decisions in a way that's really consistent, transparent, and aligned with regional priorities as well as required performance measures. And that's exactly what PRISM is designed to do. So the goal is really to equip this group with a prioritization framework that you can really confidently stand behind, one that ties project selection directly to agreed upon outcomes, that reduces subjectivity and scoring, that really makes those trade-offs explicit and provides a clear communication for funding decisions. So when questions do come up, whether that's from municipalities, stakeholders, or the public, you're not just pointing to a list, you're really pointing to a system. So the core challenge that we see here, and this is something that we've encountered repeatedly in OCPC communities and communities across the Commonwealth, is that prioritization systems often do the technical part really well, but struggle with usability and transparency. A lot of the times data lives in a lot of different places, public input is collected, but it's not always clear how it factors into some of these decisions. And the final output can kind of feel like a black box, even when the methodology itself is really solid. And that all in all creates some friction, not because people disagree with the goals, but they can't really see how everything is connecting. So this opportunity with this pilot is really to move beyond more of that kind of static point in time scorecard to a system that's easier to understand, it's easier to update, and easier to explain to staff, municipalities, and the public alike. So what does this look like in practice is a full end-to-end process from how projects come in to ultimately how they get funded. So it starts with communities identifying needs and submitting projects through a more streamlined intake process. From there, projects are screened using a consistent set of criteria tied to regional priorities and performance measures. So we're establishing a really clear objective baseline from the start. At the same time, we're layering public input and local knowledge because not everything does show up in the data, and that context is critical. Projects are then assessed for feasibility, cost, and readiness. So we understand not just what's important, but what's actually deliverable. And then that all feeds into a structured ranking process where, projects are evaluated and compared using criteria that are grounded in those same regional priorities and aligned with those performance measures that are required by the FHWA. So the projects that rise to the top are not just competitive, but they're directly advancing the outcomes that this MPO is responsible for delivering. And importantly, those rankings and the reasons behind them are made visible through a public facing dashboard, providing clear and accessible insight into how these decisions are made. From there, the top projects move forward into the TIP and other funding programs, and ultimately into design, construction, and delivery. And the key piece here is that this is not just a one-way process. It's going to be very iterative. As projects move forward and new needs emerge, they come back into the system and the process continues. So instead of, a static list or one-time ranking, it becomes more of a living system that supports that ongoing defensible decision-making at the MPO level. So the end product, the end product we're working towards is a Prism platform, which will be built on an ArcGIS hub. So at its core, it starts with, defining those regional goals and priorities, what this group has defined as important, and then identifies the data needed to support those priorities. So those data sets, whether it's Mass DOT data, census data, other regional sources, are brought in as a hosted layer and service and integrated into the hub. So essentially, we're creating a nice centralized, consistent data foundation that everything's going to build off of. From there, the hub is anticipated to have 3 primary components. First will be a municipal-facing application. That's where communities can kind of submit project updates, refine some scopes, essentially keep their information current in a standardized way. Second is a more of an internal OCPC facing application. So this is where staff can take that municipal input, combine it with underlying data, and run projects through the scoring framework. This may also include kind of a scenario planning tool, so we can test questions like what happens if safety is weighted heavily, or how do rankings shift based on different priorities. And then the third is a public-facing component where projects will be mapped, rankings and the rationale will be visible and easy for the public to understand. All in all, this is really about transparency and education, so helping the public and even municipalities clearly see how these decisions are being made at the region level, how their input is being used, and how these projects are being evaluated. Because even today, we hear that the process can still feel a little unclear. So this is all about, really streamlining that, making it more accessible, and ultimately more efficient for everyone involved. So while Prism defines the prioritization process, it's really designed to fit directly into the broader MPO framework that you're already working within. So at the top, everything starts with that strategic direction, your regional goals and objectives. So that's where priorities like safety, equity, sustainability, economic development are really defined. Prism then supports that analysis phase. So helping translate those goals into measurable criteria, identifying trends, and really developing priorities using consistent data-driven methods. From there, it feeds directly into programming, so your LRTP, the TIP, the UPWB. So project selection and funding decisions are clearly tied back to those original goals. And finally, it carries through to implementation and evaluation. So monitoring performance, evaluating how well those investments are actually delivering on the outcomes you set. So this isn't, a standalone tool. It's really intended to fully integrate into how the MPO already plans, programs, and evaluates projects. And because of that, like I mentioned, it does become an iterative process, where performance is continually monitored. The system can adapt over time, and there's flexibility to kind of respond to those changing priorities. And just as important, this will be heavily supported by training and very clear guidance. So that's not just a tool, but it's something that can be consistently applied and sustained by the MPO moving forward. So that brings us to the MPO's role in PRISM. So when we're going through this, who is responsible for what? This is a pretty big initiative that we're dealing with. So our team at GPI, working closely with the OCPC staff, will first develop a proposed prioritization framework. So bringing together all the data, best practices, and what we're kind of hearing throughout the process. That framework will be shaped by input from municipalities, regional stakeholders, and the public. So it's really reflecting real needs, that local context, and regional priorities. But ultimately, the MPO will have the final say. So this group will be reviewing, refining, and approving the goals, the criteria, and the overall direction of the system. So while the framework is, being built collaboratively, it is the MPO that defines and adopts the system that will guide the funding decisions moving forward. So a big part of this effort is really doing the groundwork to actually define those regional goals, like you see here, and translating them into a clear set of evaluation criteria. So those criteria will directly reflect these focus areas. For example, they could include safety, sustainability, workforce development, equity, community-driven needs, and project readiness, while also making sure that we're aligning with performance measures required by the FHWA. So just a quick walkthrough of our scope and schedule moving forward. The project runs from January 2026 through March 2028, and it is broken down into 6 different phases. Phase 1, we're starting with initiation and planning, so getting our roles, our governance framework kind of nailed down, and the overall approach all in place. From there, we move into a data inventory and gaps analysis. So that's really understanding what data exists today, what the process is like today, and where are the opportunities to really strengthen it. That leads into the development of the prioritization framework itself. So working with you all to define the criteria, the weighting, and how projects will be evaluated. Once that's in place, we move into the technology and dashboard phase, so actually building out that PRISM hub and the associated tools. Then we will pilot test the system, so applying it to actual real projects, gathering feedback and refining the approach. And finally, we move into implementation and sustainability. So making sure that this is not just a one-time effort, but a system that the OCPC can carry forward and really continue to evolve over time. So since kicking off in January, we've really hit the ground running. We've had several working sessions with the OCPC staff, including a kickoff meeting. We had a dedicated GIS coordination meeting, and have been going through with ongoing monthly check-ins just to keep things moving forward. We've developed a communications contact repository to support our outreach as we move into broader engagement with municipalities, stakeholders, and the public. And the big milestone to date has been the work plan report. This document really sets the foundation for the entire project, clearly outlining our scope of work, our anticipated deliverables for each phase. It defines the governance framework, so roles and responsibilities are well understood as we kind of get into things, and lays out a really detailed engagement strategy. So including a detailed schedule for stakeholder and public involvement. So at this point, we've definitely established a really strong foundation and are well positioned to move into the next phases of the work. And since the beginning of this month, we've started transitioning into phase 2, which is our data inventory and analysis phase. This phase will run through April through September of this year and really focuses on building the data foundation that will support the framework. So key deliverables for this phase include a comprehensive data inventory and gaps analysis. So understanding what data exists today, where the gaps are. We'll also develop an updated data collection plan to address any of those gaps for the OCPC moving forward. In parallel, we'll be documenting insights from several workshops and meetings that we'll be holding. So summarizing current strengths and weaknesses in the existing process. And we'll also be supporting the OCPC in preparing the biannual performance report as part of the grant requirements. So this phase is really all about making sure we have the data right and the right format and supporting strong framework moving forward. But also another big phase is engagement. So both internally with OCPC staff and externally with municipalities, regional partners, and the public. So we've already started shaping what those workshops will look like and getting them on the calendar. In fact, starting today, this afternoon, we'll be at the OCPC office and we'll actually be live scoring a few projects together. So really pressure testing the current process to see if we're all in the same room, if we're all arriving at a consistent result, and really start to unpack where some of that subjectivity exists today. Then in June, we'll be hosting a series of municipal and regional partner workshops. Those will really be focused on identifying gaps and challenges in the current process from an outside perspective, and then understanding how it can better work for municipalities and starting to define what their community needs are. And alongside that, we'll begin some of that broader public engagement, both to introduce the initiative and gather initial feedback that will help shape the framework moving forward. Also part of kicking off phase 2, we've started really digging into a lot of the existing materials. So looking at the current goals of the region, the scoring approaches, how projects are being evaluated today across the different programs. And a couple of key themes have really started to emerge. First, some of the existing criteria appear to be definitely more subjective than qualitative in nature. That can be, lead to kind of consistency issues comparing projects. Second, in some cases, it's not entirely clear which specific data sets or analysis are being used to inform certain scores. So there's an opportunity to really strengthen that connection between data and decision making. So I'll just say from an outside perspective, if I can't see everything that's going into these scores, neither can the public or the municipality. So that's where a bit of that lack of trust can kind of come in. So based on that, we've started really identifying some pretty early and preliminary recommendations, and that can include looking at opportunities to kind of simplify criteria where possible, looking at ways to improve fairness across different project types and geographies. So OCPC definitely has some urban areas and rural areas. So how do we, level the playing field a little bit? And that goes to strengthening how equity, access, and mobility are captured. And then we're more explicitly integrating cost, readiness, and implementation factors directly into the process. So a lot of exciting things coming up. We're super excited to have the opportunity to be working with the OCPC in developing this. As far as next MPO touch points, these are slated for phase 3 and phase 5 and 6. But we look forward to working with you all to really bring this really exciting initiative to the forefront. And I thank you all so much for your time this morning. I think we have a couple minutes for questions. I'm happy to answer anything.
Thanks, Nicole. Any questions, Nicole?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any questions. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move to the next agenda item.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So we have a couple updates for the MPO today under administrative items. The first being a NOFO for the Safe Streets for All grant round came out recently, and applications are due May 26th. So as you all know from past Safe Streets for All NOFOs, there are two types. One is planning and demonstration grants, and the second being implementation grants. And recently, USDOT last week had a couple webinars on this, and OCPC is planning to develop an application and submit one by the deadline. Next page. These are some hyperlinks in your staff report, and we'll be having this on our website so you can navigate to the information with ease. Next page. So our friends at the Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office typically have monthly meetings, and as you can see in your staff report, the next one is April 28th at 2 p.m. and there's a registration link here in your staff report. Next slide. And we're asking the signatories to review and save the dates of the upcoming MPO meetings. And what we did was book out through the remainder of the calendar year. In all likelihood, we were probably going to be able to take some time off over the summer months, but we just wanted you to have these dates in your calendar to be ready to go for an MPO meeting. For sure, we're going to be having the May 19th meeting and the June 16th meeting, as those will be action items for 3C certification documents. For example, at your May meeting, Bill's going to report on the public comment period for the TIP and the TIP amendments. So it's important to have those endorsed because those will help inform the state's capital investment plan, which has to go live July 1. And then in June, over that period, we're going to have the Coordinated Human Service Transportation Plan endorsement on the to-do list, and then also the 27 Unified Planning Work Program. But that's what we have for updates, and we're here certainly if anybody has any questions or like to offer any comments.
All right. Any questions for Charlie? All right. Charlie, why don't we move to the next agenda item, which I think is adjournment?
Yes.
All right. Can I get a motion and second to adjourn, everyone?
Don't move, Dan from Whitman.
Go ahead, Becky. He's going to call on you anyways. Not even me. It's going to be Dan that's going to call on you.
I'll second.
We've been doing this a long time.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Just want to underscore what Charlie said. Please make sure you're at the next meeting because we have we'll be taking up final endorsement of the TIP as well the UPWP and other things. So everyone be safe. Try to hopefully it gets warmer, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good
Bye.
week.
Thank you.